With that down and out of the way, let's move on to the second main topic today. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This is from Tina Amilda. It was rumored that Robert Richardson would be the cinematographer for Matt Reeves' The Batman, but it was now confirmed that Greig Fraser will be the one behind the camera. He's worked on movies like Rogue One, Vice, Zero Dark 30, Foxcatcher, Matt Reeves' Let Me In, and Lion, which he got an Oscar nomination for. He's also working on Denis Villneuve. Thank you, Dune. Are you excited for how this movie is going to be shaping up? For me, it only gets better with each announcement. Despite all of my stumbles and mispronunciations. What do you have to say about that, John?
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the things that I'm always saying here is that it is never a mistake to add talent. Whether it's somebody in front of the camera, whether it's somebody behind the camera. And when you're talking about cinematography, and I think that's one of the more overlooked things in comic book movies in particular. Like we talk a lot about, the people who star in it and the person directing it. And I think there are other genres of film where the cinematography gets appreciated more, but not a lot of love gets given to the comic book genre cinematographer. And it's not like anybody makes a career to that specifically, but when you're talking about bringing on an Academy Award nominated cinematographer into something like this. And I think even more important than that, even more important than the whole notion that he was nominated for an Academy Award for Lion, like you were mentioning, is that he has worked with this director before. The relationship, now we always talk about the relationship between the director and the actor, but the relationship between the director and their cinematographer is so freaking key. And you know what? It really plays in when you look at a movie like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movies. One of the things that's constantly talked about is visually how it's all shot and put together, and that gets lauded a lot. And I think for Matt Reeves to, number one, not only go and get an Academy level talent for cinematographer, but also somebody that he has worked with before, that he has a rapport with, that he's clearly comfortable with, I think that's really key. Now, none of this makes any difference if they don't make this movie. And I've been saying for a long time that this Batman movie to me is just one of these movies that it falls under the category of I'll believe it when I see it. Not because I have any doubts of the people, but it's just because Matt Reeves was announced to direct this movie years ago. And then nothing and nothing and nothing. Finally, here Robert Pattinson. Then we heard, okay, it's going to probably start shooting mid-2018. Then we heard, okay, it's going to start shooting mid-2000 or late 2018. Now we're hearing, it's going to start shooting January of 2019 or 2020, I should say. And I'm just like, look, stop telling me when you think it's going to start shooting and just let me know once the cameras start rolling. Then it will become real to me. Until then, but I got to say, the casting of Robert Pattinson is a big step towards that tangibilization that I was talking about before. Actually bringing on their cinematographer is another big step towards that tangibilization. Anyway, Aaron, as somebody who's been on a lot of sets, both movies, television, stuff like that, how key is that relationship between the director and cinematographer and how well they communicate together? And what do you think about the addition of Greig?
It's so important. And here's why. It's very clear when I've been on set and I see that the director and the cinematographer have worked with one another before, because they have a shorthand. The director goes, this is what I see. And the cinematographer goes, like we did in the other thing. And then immediately they say, okay, actors go back to hair and makeup and we're rushed off to do our thing. And the cinematographer has the set and all of a sudden lights are moving and everything's working. I've also been on a set where I've seen the director trying to communicate something with the cinematographer, and the cinematographer has his or her head in the hands and just going, that's not going to, and you see the conflict. And meanwhile, all the actors are kind of standing around going, okay, I have a costume change and I have to do a whole hair change. It's going to take 45. And it immediately builds up a tension on the set that you realize, okay, this whole ship is sinking. I find that the cinematographer-director relationship is so valuable as an actor, because the director is going to tell me what I need to bring out from here, but I also trust in the cinematographer to help me with my technical performance.
Right.
So it is very important as an actor. And I think that you hit the nail on the head with the way that Wally Pfister, as the cinematographer for Christopher Nolan's Batman, he completely changed the look of the Batman franchise.
Yeah.
And I think that this is going to be a really exciting moment for the Batman franchise to change again. I mean, even in the Dark Knight Rises and Batman Begins, even the daylight scenes seemed like they were shot at night with just like a flash. Like everything was so dark. And when you think about Greig, is that how you pronounce Greg?
Greig, I just pronounce it Greg, but
Greg. When you think about Greig Fraser's work, even though he works on some really heavy material, and even the name Zero Dark 30, it's got a little bit of a lighter look to it. So I think that it's going to be a really interesting way for him to put his own color onto the Batman franchise, and I'm really excited to see how that changes.
Well, the question here, guys, is what do you think about this? They've hired another cinematographer. They're one step closer. Is this movie actually going to happen? Obviously, it is at some point, but I'll still believe when I see it. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.